Welcome aboard this week's podcast of Dudes Dish Disney. Get ready for amazing attractions across America. Beer halls and bar rooms, banquets and beverages, a collection of characters and colleagues.
No cupcakes.
It's Dudes Dishing Disney. This episode of Dudes Dish Disney is sponsored by Magic Vacations. Magic Vacations. Discover the magic of travel. And now your hosts, the dudes of Dudes Dish Disney.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's episode of Dudes Dish Disney. Joining us today is our producer and resident tech dude, Jonathan.
What's going on, guys?
Also joining us is our co-host, Ryan. He is the #1 Disney dude.
What's up, dudes?
And this evening, joining us also is the Magic Vacations planner from beautiful Basking Ridge, New Jersey, Bob Martin.
What's up, dudes?
And I'm Congo Carl, former Jungle Cruise skipper, here to guide you through this week's episode of Dudes Dish Disney. D23, dudes.
I'm excited for this episode. I really am. I'm excited to see you melt down, Carl. This is going to be great.
Yeah, this is going to be a fun one. We've been giving you a hard time ever since Sunday morning about some of these announcements, and I'm ready to see you lose your mind here live here. It's going to be a blast.
Well, let's be clear. Some of them
All
are
right,
good.
shut up, Figgy boy. Let's get with it.
Some of them are good.
All right, Carl's ready to fight.
Hey, let's do a shout out really quick. We're on our first ever YouTube. So for those of us that are actually listening on podcast, you missed it because we're live right now on YouTube. Super for this. I'm sure Carl has something to say about it, but it's great seeing people's comments coming in already. Greg, a longtime friend of the program, saying, hey, Christine, and a big, beautiful tomorrow. There's a lot of stuff going on here. So really excited to be on YouTube for the first time, guys.
We are,
Yeah.
and welcome to our listeners who are just joining us in the recorded session as well. We're going to attempt to incorporate people's comments throughout the evening and their input on such a controversial event. We're very excited to talk about this, and we're very excited to explore this new medium of YouTube. Not new to you, new to us. And it's always a pleasure to have Bob with us. He has some wonderful insights and opinions, and we've had him join tonight on our first live stream just so we could get 4 pictures in the box. We didn't want to have 3 pictures in a box and a logo. We wanted Bob in a box.
Well, thanks for having me in my box.
There you go.
All right, we're off to a roaring start.
So let's roll.
All right. So as the world of Diz Twitter and everyone knows, D23 was a smashing success in Anaheim last week. And I think the big difference in this D23 was less blue sky, more actual commitment, groundbreaking dates. We're going to make this happen, right? And I think the fan base demanded that. And I think especially park fans were expecting that. I also think that, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. There's been a history of, announcements that still don't kind of live up to their expectations. And we certainly saw that with Epcot and the promises that were unfulfilled there. And so we're going to kind of take this with a grain of salt. Nothing's official until it's announced. We're going to talk about it the way Ryan likes to talk about it, in what has actually been announced and to be true, not in what we're doing. Because right now, Twitterverse and Facebook is alive with people with all kinds of opinions on the matter. And I've been guilty of joining in on a lot of those threads on a lot across different mediums. Made some great new friends, but man, is it really getting me going. So we don't know where the conversation is going to go. If you've got some thoughts when we're going on a subject matter, please chime in, our listeners. That's the joy of live YouTube. We can incorporate that. And let's go in no particular order. We're going to cover some of the announcements that are there. So, Ryan, John, if you want to pick one and we'll start somewhere, let's go.
John, I know you've been dying to talk about D23, buddy. So I'm going to let you kick it off.
Yeah, I'm gonna start by avoiding the elephant in the room here before we get way too heated. Um, let's start with some of the announcements, I guess, over in California first before we move our way back here to the East Coast. One that we can definitely talk about that was announced is we now have some official information on Avatar coming to Disneyland. And we're looking at a whole new, different ride. It's not going to be a carbon copy of what we have in Pandora, but we're looking at some stuff that's brand new. With a ride that you can see here on your screen with the concept art here. It looks awesome. It really looks awesome. I guess from what it kind of seems like, it's going to be another Navi River style riverboat ride, but they're saying that it's going to be like nothing like that. It's going to be much more entertaining, much more dynamic, going to have a lot more elements involved in it. So that's one that really has me going. I don't know how you guys feel about that, but
so the other photo is a courtesy, John, and it looks like the boat is going through a treacherous part of the story where you might be attacked. And all I can think of is the technology, and it has not been confirmed. And it looks like a lot of the Pirates of the Caribbean technology from Disney Sea and Shanghai, right? That's coming into play. Everyone's nodding their head. So I think that's what we're guessing. Remember, this has been teased back in early 2023, so over a year ago, when Bob Iger first kind of teased that, hey, we could bring Avatar here, right? The image that you just showed there's been some speculation on the internet, though, that's wedged right in between the Californian hotel and Grizzly Peak. Now, I don't know if that's going to be another situation. Disneyland Forward has all kinds of plots of land and all kinds of availability around Anaheim that's been zoned. I'm really hoping that's the case. But again, some of these announcements, the physical location hasn't been confirmed. So that's interesting. Now, the only other comment I'll do is, guys, the way I feel, and your reoccurring theme for me tonight is 2 attractions don't make a land, right? And there's so many lands that roll out now with just 2 attractions in them. And here, that's the case here. And that's the case of Avatar in Animal Kingdom. And there's space. Why aren't we building up on these intellectual properties to make them more like the traditional lands that had 5, 6, 7, 8 attractions in them, right? So I know these are bigger. It's more expensive. It's better than getting 3 spinners and then 2 attractions. But I know John's excited about it, so I don't want to piss all over his parade.
Oh, you're gonna pee on everybody's parade throughout this entire show, Carl. So I don't.
Yeah,
know
there's no doubt the old angry man is coming out, and he's coming out strong tonight. He's
gonna come out fighting later. But here's the thing, right? Like, we've talked on this show a million times about, two attractions don't make a land and whatever. But the fact of the matter is, you look at Pandora and Disney's Animal Kingdom, and everybody loves it. 2 attractions or 3 attractions doesn't matter. It's awesome, right? And if you do it the right way, if you theme the land the right way, you can squeeze in a land and have 1 or 2 attractions. What is Grizzly Peak now? Grizzly Peak is 3 attractions. There's a freaking playground, Grizzly River Run, and Soarin', right? That's pretty much what you've got over there now. So, I don't know, maybe they're going to replace Grizzly River Run with this entirely, right? I mean, the water's there already. Maybe they build around it or build from it. Who knows where they're going to put the location of it? But what I'm more concerned about is, rather than poo-pooing the land right now, is talking about the ride concept itself. And the ride concept, the attraction concept itself, I think is going to be pretty cool. That Shanghai version or that the other versions of Pirates is very well respected. So if we're going to pull technology from those rides finally in the US and give that kind of stuff here, that would be amazing to me. And they went out of their way to talk about how you're going to see the beautiful side of Pandora, but also some of the treacherous side of Pandora. And that's where I want to get away from the Navi River kind of comparison to this, because Navi River is just like, it's a small world in Pandora, right? That's basically all it really is. So I'm looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to that kind of treacherous side. Everything right now in Avatar, even Flight of Passage, which is amazing, you're not really getting any of the treachery, right? You're just kind of getting like, oh, beautiful scenes.
Well, the thought process too here is that this is going to come in conjunction with the third release of Avatar, so it's going to have more of that connection. So timing is everything. So they announced the release of the third one coming, and then should open up sort of kind of then that time. So I think there's no coincidence there.
I'm curious. We have people listening and following. There's not a lot of comments going on right now in terms of, Avatar. I wonder if everybody's just kind of sitting back and listening or agreeing at this point. But for the most part, that hasn't really been one of the controversial ones. I think for the most part, people are like, okay, cool, okay. Avatar in California, sweet.
And it's not really a big surprise. Like I said, Iger was talking about it. So moving on, what else is in California that's got you so excited there, John Boy?
Yeah, so there's a bunch of stuff going on there. The other one, Ryan, you can kind of touch on this a little bit more because this is more your wheelhouse, but Marvel's Campus, what's going on with that?
Yeah, Marvel's Campus they're finally talking about expanding for the e-ticket and what they're looking for. And what they're looking for with the e-ticket is they talked about this again last year. They very briefly kind of talked about it. And as I look at this and as I see what they're doing, number one, they're expanding Avengers Campus. There was some thought that they were going to build it inside of the building at one point, but they're actually expanding. And it looks like from the concept art, it'll be back behind that Avengers building is where they're going to build this area into. The track looks very interesting. It looks kind of like a kart track. And we saw some of this last year, like we said before, but the continued concept art of this looks amazing. They're going to bring in like King Thanos, basically, right? Which is, that's like the most badass version of Thanos that you're going to get. But you can tell from the characters and stuff, if you're a Marvel fan, this is going to likely play into the storyline with the Avengers Secret Wars, because you're going to start getting a bunch of different Marvel characters from a bunch of different comic book lines, different worlds, different universes, and that has been such a big draw already for California and really for the other parks in the world outside of Orlando, that I have to imagine they're planning on ramping up for people, because all I hear now is how busy Disneyland is, and I don't think it's coincidence that it's all happened after Avengers Campus opened, right? Like so they need to keep building into this. They need to keep playing into this, and they're doing a really good job by expanding the Marvel universe to do that. I can't wait to see what it turns out to be. Even the concept art right now is not enough for me to get like really super pumped, but I'm just glad it's continuing to move forward, right? It's not something that's going away.
Hey, listen, they got Robert Downey to come out of retirement as Iron Man, and I think that's a big deal too. So he's going to be Iron Man through all the attractions. So
yeah, he's going to voice it. He's going to come out and voice it. That's right, Bob. Then that's pretty awesome. But like, I don't think anybody's gonna have a problem, especially Robert Downey Jr., with hearing his own voice, right? Like that man does love to reprise that role. What I'm curious about is if he's gonna come out and be that role, but also be Dr. Doom at the same time. Like if he's gonna have a little Doom in there at some point too. But that'll be that Secret Wars kind of concept as well, is having those worlds clash. And how cool would that be, having a scene in the ride where it's Iron Man versus Doom? It's the same.
Well, look, it's a perfect excuse for a bridging movie sometime in the near future, right? So that is going to happen. It hasn't been written in a comic book, but it's going to be created. So that's great. So, all right. So we're all hyped up about Avengers. I'm more excited about whatever's going to really happen with that e-ticket. The concept art looks great. It's got to be overpowering. I think there's enough space to do what they intentionally wanted to do. If you look at the land rights in Anaheim, part of the growth does go beyond, for lack of a better term, the berm there and DCA. So they're going to be able to, I hope, really do it well on the level of Guardians of the Galaxy, kind of big and over the top. So, or even more so. So, let's do that. So anything else in California, guys? We want to keep covering the West Coast, because we do have some West Coast listeners joining us. Welcome. It's early out there for you guys, but
the The one thing they're going to do is make an audio animatronic of Walt Disney himself, and that is the one thing of all things they better get it right the first time, because people will pounce on that, and that has to be the most state-of-the-art animatronic that they've ever done in their lives.
And yet they still have it looking like he's sitting on a toilet in the concept art. They just can't get away from Walt sitting on the toilet.
You know, look at so the original concept, and I hope they do this. They were going to use his actual voice in and blend that into all his statements. They've got enough of that recorded, right? And I think that will make the difference. And I think that's one of the reasons they've been waiting. And the concept says he's going to kind of take you through past, present, and future, right? Of where that is. And I think that's going to be amazing if done well. I think it is going to be done. Walt was very specific in making sure there was dignity in Abraham Lincoln, right? He wanted to get that right. It was important to him that it did not look fake. And he put all kinds of effort into that. So I think
none of us except for you, Carl, was alive when Lincoln was alive, so we couldn't really have anything to base on. But we've had so many images of Walt Disney talking and acting and behaving, and we have such expectations on the future of animatronics and what they're doing over in Asia that, again, Walt Disney's sacred. We only got a statue in Disney World. This is like the closest wherever most of us are going to get to a living, breathing Walt.
You knocked Carl off his game with the old man joke, Bob. He doesn't know how
no,
to
you didn't. I was going to try to think of a clever comeback, but I'll save it for later, Bob. You'll get yours. You'll get yours. Look, I think we're all agreeing there. So, you know what? It was just thinking about that for a minute. It was very touching in the D23 when they did that tribute before they announced that to Walt, and they came out and saying "Feed the birds," and they had, they had the brothers up on the screen, having lost one of them this year. It was kind of very touching. But I'm not going to get too sentimental tonight.
My ass.
Yeah, there's no doubt you will.
Hey, let's touch on this really quick from Paul and Ashley, because this is something that comes up often with Walt Disney's granddaughter. She likes to insert herself very, very often, but there's a huge controversy that she's been vocally opposed to it, right? So, I mean, do you think people care, honestly, right? Because I think it's a good point by Paul and Ashley. Like, this is a big controversy in the family, but on the same hand, for me personally, it's like Bob said, like it's Walt Disney, right? Like, he needs to be immortalized, and if you can do it through what he created in audio animatronics, I mean, like, come on, right? So I'm just curious what you guys feel about this.
I mean, here's the thing with Walt. I mean, it's such an iconic voice in person that having the audio is necessary. I mean, Disney itself uses it in promos. They use it all the time for everything else. Why? I mean, I understand if there's a financial reason why the family wants something, but at the same point, it's the parks. People expect that. People want that. Let's just leave it in there, because yes, it's been a long time coming to get this animatronic, but it's a necessary long time coming. The technology's there. So it makes perfect sense. I understand there's a little bit of animosity towards it, but get over the animosity, because the purpose behind it is not to cause drama with it. It's to show what Walt was, show his vision, show all that. It makes perfect sense to have it. It was only a matter of time. So they need to get over it, unfortunately.
So it's basically just her getting her name in the news, like she tends to do. I do feel like every time there's controversy, she tends to throw her hat in the ring on it. And
Okay, these are champagne problems, right? These are champagne problems. If we had her dough, okay, to do what she does and what she chooses to do with her own money, she's really been disassociated for the company. So she flip-flops between complaining about the company, bad-mouthing the company, and spending all that inheritance. So I really have no sympathy. Right. I mean, look where sympathy is in the dictionary. It's between shit and syphilis. All right.
Whoa, hello.
Hey, there it is.
And
So
that's where I think her opinion belongs. So
I sure hope that we
move
mark this as for mature audience and not for children at this point.
we can move along away from her and talk about some happier things that are happening. With
My kids are going to watch this because they're excited I'm on YouTube, Carl. Now they're going to ask me what syphilis is. Thank you so much for that conversation.
I'm sure you can explain in great detail, Ryan, what it is.
Whoa, here we go. Man, he really is fired up tonight. Oh, man.
This portion is
Just
what
can't
my
grab.
open.
Okay, next.
I guess the other big one is Coco taking over a section over by the big Ferris wheel and bringing Coco to life and a whole. I mean, they did something smaller with it already, but I think that they are just going to go hog into it now. That's in Encanto.
Yeah, that's not Coco.
That's a glitch on my
Somebody
part.
fire the tech dude.
Yeah. Come
Not
on,
all-
That's right.
Figgy
Not all
boy.
people look alike.
Yeah.
Here's the thing, right? I love that Coco's finally getting a boat ride. Why is it not in the Mexico pavilion? It's been talked about forever. Like, why, if you're going to create the ride, why didn't we put it in the Mexico pavilion?
Yeah, that's kind of surprising. The way that they teased it during the presentation, everything, I was right away. Okay, we're getting rid of it, and we're getting Coco. There's no doubt. And then boom.
I don't think Figgy Boy's got the artwork we're looking for, which shows that, Ryan, to your point, is exactly the second turn when you go through the existing Mexico boat ride. If you look at the buildings and you look at the architecture and the color scheme, your second turn inside the corner of the cave, that's where that is. So there's no doubt in my mind it was intended to go there. But like so much of what tonight's discussion is, California gets to pick and choose what they want to do, and Florida kind of gets stuck with the leftovers. That's just the world of the Imagineers, and that's their fangu to Florida for not building their campus there and having them move there. So I think you'll see a trend in what they're doing between those two parks that, you know, it's basically, we've got it, you don't, we're controlling it. And so just watch out, because there's only so much money that you can squeeze out of California's. And you look at the reports today, there's a massive earthquake headed from California. That investment's going to be poorly invested when it all flows into the ocean over there. They'll be better off investing it in Florida. But
there goes the San Andreas, and there goes all of Disneyland. Wonderful.
So buy your travel from all of us now and go to California while you still have the chance.
Yeah. Now booking.
Anything else in California we want to touch on, gentlemen?
I mean, they announced the opening for Tiana's, which, you know, that's fine. They could have put that on the website. I'm not super concerned about that being announced at D23. I think that's probably the other really big thing, and I don't think we're missing anything really beyond that. A lot of people think that Disneyland kind of got the shaft at this D23, so I think these are some cool updates. I don't think they quite got the shaft, but Disney World was definitely a bigger hit at this.
So to their credit, I don't think they got the shaft either, Ryan. I think they deliberately, having learned from previous D23s, have withheld some of the other expansion. One of the big notables that they did say was they were bringing over the lead Imagineer from Tokyo, Disney Sea, Tokyo Disneyland. That's encouraging. As long as they give him the same budget that Oriental Land Company had, he'll do a fine job. But I don't see any of the projects that have been laid out in Disneyland Forward that really have got kind of his trademark and earmark on it yet. And I think they've held it back because there was so much, nearly 50 announcements, right? Which is all great for us as park fans. But I think they've held that deliberately because they're going to play. And I think some of that's going to be based on the success that you see in the Asian parks and you see in Disneyland Paris, their involvement. What are they going to pick and choose to either clone or recreate or twist in some of those areas between some of the hotels, the expansion of DCA, and the other plots of land they have in Disneyland Forward. So I think that was deliberate.
I think that's a really smart comment by Casey, which is they have to focus on Disney World right now because Universal Epic, and they definitely have felt the pressure of Epic, breathing down their necks. They've gone out of their way to talk about the investments they've been making in the parks for the last 5 or 10 years, knowing that Epic was coming. And I think this is a good point. You have to focus on Orlando right now to keep the competition out. So good call by Casey there.
Casey, thank you for segueing us into the Walt Disney World Resort.
All right, Carl, I'm gonna let you start this one off. You've got some thoughts that we've been teasing all week. Do you want to go into those now, or do you want to save that for later?
I'd like to read a prepared statement for my client.
Oh no.
Here we go.
You farging arseholes, you take away my civil rights. You have no farging reason to destroy my rivers of America. Look it, I literally typed into Chat GPT, expletive, what are they doing to rivers of America by bringing in Cars Land and planting it smack dab in the middle of Frontierland? And Chapchat said back to me, I can see why you as a fan might be upset about such a big change. Frontierland and its classic Western theme has been a staple of Disney parks for years. So the idea of it being replaced by something from Cars is a pretty big shift. The Cars franchise has its own charm, but it's definitely different in tone and style from the Western theme attractions that have been here. Then I went on to reply something else, and Chapchat said to me, your content has been removed. The content may violate our usage policies.
God, even AI doesn't want to listen to you.
I replied, it's clear that this change has struck a deep chord with you, and it's understandable to be upset with something that feels so integral into part of this park's identity as it's altered. The historical and personal connections people have with Disney parks and with Frontierland in particular are significant. Look, I'm going to take it back. John, cue the artwork that I gave you, right? If you go back historically to Walt Disney, there's 3 things that were always going to be part of his park. From the original sketch that John's going to show you of his Disneyland park, right? There was 3 things. And in the other sketches and the other concept art, they were all there. Those 3 things were a steam train, and we all know Walt's legacy for that, a quote-unquote ghost house, and a steamboat. It was in that park, it was in the original Disneyland design, and it was so integral. So much for the fact that Walt Disney himself, when they were building the park and run out of money, personally mortgaged his own personal house to build the original Mark Twain in Disneyland. That's how passionate he was about it, right? That's how important it was. And you can hear the stories of when they finally opened up and later Tom Sawyer Island, how he hired a kid to play Tom Sawyer, how he used to have fishing in the rivers of the frontier, never mind Davy Crockett's canoes and Mike Fink's keelboats, which all were in Disney World, by the way. When the rivers of America were in Disney World, there was a period from the late 70s to right around 1980, there was actually 2 riverboats. One ended up getting damaged, but there was 2. So the capacity was enormous in that popularity. And as a kid growing up, it was not just about, the frontier, but the whole concept that I think is so important and will be lost with this overlay is that the family vacation concept, which Walt Disney World is all about. So Walt Disney World is also about the other things involved that are harbingers to your memory as a kid growing up in vacations, exploring the woods, hiking a trail, fishing in a pond, right? That sense of adventure, camping, all of those other things that are tied in. And that was part of the Frontierland lore as well. They're trashing it. They're putting that, and you've seen my comments in Twitter and Facebook and everywhere. You don't put a 1960s Jeep road rally next to 1880s gold mining frontier or 1776 Liberty Square. All right? You just don't do it. Okay? You don't freaking do it, people.
All right, hold
All
on.
right,
Before you have a coronary, hang on. Hold up. Stop.
Deep
Stop.
Deep
Pull
breath.
him off the soapbox. God damn it.
I want to pull a few things back here really fast. The first thing I want to pull back here is that your first argument is that Walt's original concept for Disneyland included the rivers of America and the boat and all the other stuff, which will all still exist in Disneyland. For the record.
Again, tying back right into my Imagineers is no, our precious Disneyland will take care of it, but Fangu, Walt Disney World.
Yes, and that's fine, right? But here's the other point, right? The other point is that like you're like, oh, it's a family park. Like, yeah, they're putting a Cars attraction in. What's more family friendly than Cars?
John, when Disneyland opened in 1955,
I'm Ryan.
Somebody drove a Rambler next to next out into the forest, and Walt came and said, "What is a 1954 Chevy Rambler doing out in 1880s Americana? You know, blowing the theme." That's what you're doing. You're putting something there that doesn't belong there with the rest of the theme. This was for beyond Thunder Mountain, right? This is not beyond Thunder Mountain. It's smack dab in the front of Thunder Mountain. The Haunted Mansion was built on the Hudson River. There's no river there anymore. You know, the 1776 from Pennsylvania to New England was all on the East Coast with there's no water there anymore, right? John, I took you on the Liberty Bell, our last trip there, and gave you an education like you never had before. And that was an opportunity for people to say, remember how things used to be, it's kind of cool how things used to work. All right, next thing, let's rip out the cars of Main Street. Let's rip them all out because who cares? And let's put in, clown cars or something silly. Let's just destroy all of the continuity and flow of the thematic elements in all the lands. Okay.
Hey, Carl.
And so,
Carl.
look, you can all say it's been a land of becoming and whatever. Change it, add it, but put a theme there that makes sense. You don't put 1960s automobiles in the 1880s Western land or 1776 Liberty Square, and that's what they're doing.
Okay, so I want to read something to you that I was going to wait and I was going to have you get even more hot and bothered, but I think based on our viewers' comments, I think it's really important for me to read this to you right now. I did a little research preparing for you to go on this tirade. And I want to read this to you. Everybody bear with me for just a minute, okay? This is from University of Central Florida hospitality professor Bill Zanetti. When asked on Twitter about why Disney World couldn't potentially maintain at least part of Rivers of America, this is what he had to say. And I quote, "It's hard to see from the art, but there are new ponds, streams, and waterfalls that are being created. It's not a total loss of water. There will actually be more kinetic energy with this than there currently is in the area. But as for why, remember that the Rivers of America at Walt Disney World are connected by a lock to the Seven Seas Lagoon. Major challenges exist to this river system and drainage in the area that need to be accounted for. The foundation of the river isn't in great shape, nor is the filtered water. The nature of this river surrounding the island system also prevents construction on the islands. To retain any of this river as it would be is impossible, as the connection would need to remain near Thunder Mountain to lock. One of the key drivers of this redo was requested by the park management itself, to eliminate dead ends. That can't be accomplished while retaining the navigable river system, so you have an aging river basin in dire need of resurfacing, logistical nightmares to improve the islands, and dead-end pathways on two sides, plus access must be created to get to the other side of the river systems for any expansions." This is the logic behind why we're quote-unquote turning the area into a parking lot, right? Let's take it a step further. I can tell you that countless rides were taken on the riverboat by key people involved in this decision, and it was not taken lightly. They know they have to blow everyone out of the water with what gets built on the site. It still makes sense. Cars being the IP, which is your other point here, was selected for Walt Disney Imagineering by others. Cars makes ridiculous financial and demographic sense. It sells merchandise like no other franchise. It will eventually allow for the removal of the Tomorrowland Speedway on the other side of the park to free up more valuable real estate in the park. It appeals to the Floridian demographic, and it appeals to families, not single millennials. Cars also is a friendly story that will provide the friendly alternative to the scary villains land beyond. It goes on a little bit further there, but I thought that was really well put by somebody who knows what the hell they're talking about. So if we were to break this down in the sense of removing our emotions and looking at this from why Disney World needs to change, and if we were to be doing a Business of Disney episode right now, you can't argue that. You can't argue that. The only thing you have to stand on is the Jeep Jamboree or whatever you want to put it on, right? The rest of it all makes sense for the future health of the park and what we'll get to next, the Villains Park beyond it.
Look at so I think the part of that I'm in agreement with, and it doesn't make sense to be part of the argument, is there has been for years plans, and they did it successfully in Disneyland, right, to stop that dead end in Britain. And Villains will do that, right? And there's certainly enough land to put this in the 40,000, 27,000 square miles that is to be developed, not the 40,000. Some of it's reserved to be, always Florida, pristine lands. But there's enough to go beyond that. I've walked in those woods behind Big Thunder. I've walked in the woods.
We don't want to know why. We don't want to know why you were in those woods back there.
And I understand the water system in the gate and how that ties to Seven Seas Lagoon. At one time, it tied to the Jungle Cruise too, but they changed that. And I understand logistically that. But building that around for Villains, or you could have stuck Cars Land beyond Big Thunder Mountain to not done with that integrity and addressed it. If this was such an issue, it's interesting to me that just 2 years ago, they emptied the whole Rivers of America and repaired it. And now they're coming up with, this is the problem. Had they discovered that 2 years ago and said, okay, this is part of the plan, why would they, right? I mean, maybe that's part of the article that you didn't read, but.
There is a Twitter user, I actually saw this on Reddit, who made a very keen observation on the concept art. The concept art is actually dated 2020. So it is, and if you look at the concept art for that area, the buildings, John, I don't know if you can bring that up again. The buildings along the side that are back over on the left-hand side,
yep,
that's Disney Paris. That's not Disney World. So there is a theory that this was originally designed for Disney Paris, but when they went to do the repairs in the river basin, they realized it was not sustainable, and they shifted in 2022 to do this for Disney World.
It's interesting because Disneyland Paris doesn't have Splash Mountain, right? So, they changed. That's Disney's famous for that, taking a concept and moving it to another place, another park, and everything. I have a plan. I still have a problem with it thematically belonging there. Christy.
now he's fired up, Christy. For those of us listening on the podcast, can you imagine if they decided to get rid of the Jungle Cruise? Was what Christy said.
They've thought about it too. Believe me, they thought about it. So,
if that happened, God, only Carl's fired up now. Dear God, we'd be in for a world war. I think.
I was fired up when Paris decided not to build it, and I was, in a actually presentation meeting when they unveiled a map of Disneyland Paris and said, "Where's the Jungle Cruise?" And someone from Disney said it was the 5-year reunion of the international program when they unveiled it. But look, it's part of the history. It's going to be a tremendous loss. There's other ways to deal with capacity. Disney's got brilliant minds in engineering. I mean, they've made an ecosystem down there which can handle sewage systems and wind and water. Paul, you keep doing the same thing every time you're at Disney World. Why don't you take your freaking camera, go down the Liberty Bell and take a picture of it so maybe your kids can remember it someday and say, oh, that was never there. Oh, maybe
man.
that'll finally take me on something that I didn't do 10 times. All right.
So fired up. So again,
that's I've seen on the web. Oh, I've never gone there. I've never been there. Why don't you freaking go? Maybe they'll have a crowd there now that it's going to be gone.
But here's
Country Bears was the same way. They just fixed the Country Bears, and now people are coming back. They ripped the hell out of the shooting gallery, right? They want to do everything with the Wild West and get rid of it and make it some sort of, G-rated, censored, sensitive. Very calm, peaceful. Look, cars don't belong in the 1800s. I'm sorry.
I'm going to agree with Carl on that. But I'm going to disagree that Tom Sawyer Island is way past its time and way past where listen, I've been going there a long, long time. So I'm an old timer too, Carl. And I even acknowledge that, I couldn't even think the last time I stepped foot on Tom Sawyer Island. First of all, it's kind of a hassle to get to because you have to take the raft boat over. And that's probably the coolest part of all of it. Otherwise, it's caves and stuff. The refreshments over there are seasonal. So I agree with you in the theming. But I disagree with you. I think it's time to have put it something. I've heard other people say, well, they should have just done something with Tiana over there, so it would have kept the riverboat concept in line and it would have blended better. But then they're like, well, they already did the Tiana's Adventure. But with all the IPs that they have, there could have been something better that they could have
put some IPs that are not cars, and that's here's the crust of my final point, and then I'll be done. Brother Bear, Pocahontas, Pecos Bill. There's lots of different IPs that fit in with the West and Frontierland that are appropriate to the 1800s to the early 1900s with exploration, right?
There's that nobody's children understand today. Yeah. Nobody knows any of those characters anymore.
Yeah, and that's right. And nobody's going to understand the peacefulness of walking on an island, exploring Engine Joe's cave, having lemonade on Aunt Polly's deck, and sitting under a weeping willow well. No one's going to freaking understand that because you're making a fucking desert out of it, right? And nobody will. So guess what? You haven't taught your children to appreciate that now, and they're going to miss that their entire lives and never going to experience that. Of course, you could go to Chicago and stick your toe in Lake Huron and freeze your toe off, and that's,
I've lived in Chicago my whole life. I've never stepped toe in Lake Huron. I don't know if that bleeds all the way down into Lake Michigan, becomes one giant lake. I don't think that's the way it works, but Lake Michigan here in Chicago is not nearly the same. Listen, we've talked about this. This is the same argument that we've had for why the Great Movie Ride is gone. The same argument we had for why Frozen is a thing now. The same argument that we've had for why Tiana's needed to become Tiana's, right? Like, these places are empty. Nobody visits them. There is no foot traffic there. It's not taking, as you say, it's not eating people in the parks, right? It's not. You have to get rid of that stuff. The only way you're going to attract new families, new generations, is to start bringing in the IPs that those family and generations love. And the truth of the matter is, I have, as a planner, I have people talk about cars all the time. And what do I have to give them in Disney World right now? Like, hey, there's a really cool 5-minute show in Hollywood Studios if you're 4 years old and younger. That's it. This, much like Radiator Springs in Disneyland, California, and the California Adventure, is going to be a draw. People will come for this. They will go to Magic Kingdom for this.
I don't have a problem with cars. I have a problem with where they're putting cars. Put it behind Big Thunder, like you said, beyond Big Thunder. But it'll be off in the distance and not impact the visual. But they're putting it there. So it's done.
Change is good. Change is good, Carl.
Yes, but don't fuck up the view.
There's a second F-bomb.
So Carl, let's give the Imagineers a chance and figure they'll find ways to have sight lines that still keep the view and not, as you say, fuck it up.
3 F-bombs. All right.
We're
approaching Deadpool and Wolverine status.
Miracle was beyond Thunder Mountain. It's not beyond Thunder Mountain. It's in Rivers of America. So, and to my point, you're right, Ryan. We've talked about people eaters and capacity. You put something in, and hopefully that capacity will eat up the minimal capacity that's used in that real estate and have a benefit. But every time, every time they do something in the Magic Kingdom to help capacity, what do? Now they're going to shut down the train again? When they built Galaxy's Edge in Disneyland, they redirected the rivers of America and still kept Galaxy's Edge. They found a way to do a happy medium and do both. They could have put this on the other side of Big Thunder, done the happy, but they chose not. Obviously, you've enlightened me today about logistical problems and flooding and everything. I appreciate that. I did not know that. That's fine. I mean, and that's money saving, and that's okay. I have no problem with them making money and dividends for stockholders like ourselves and that people. I do have a problem with them saving money to give themselves big, huge bonuses at our expense. But that's okay.
Carl's just playing to the X crowd right now, the former Twitter crowd. He's just like, I know these people are behind me, even though none of them are watching us right now. They're all behind you, Carl. That's fine. I mean, listen, point taken. We could probably spend an entire hour show on this subject. I think our motto on this show, or at least my motto in this show that you guys used to agree with, was let's see, right? Let's see what happens. So yeah, we're fired up about it now, and this is our reaction show. But let's see. It could be amazing. It could be amazing. They could do it.
A lot of people were pissed when they tore up the back lot at Hollywood Studios to put in Star Wars and Galaxy's Edge, and now nobody says.
There's very, very, very minimal complaints and bitching about that getting torn up because what Galaxy's Edge is. I mean, yeah, the nostalgia was there of that. I mean, I was one of those folks that enjoyed the nostalgia of that, but hey, it's on to bigger and better. I mean, that's exactly what it is. I mean,
you don't make money off of nostalgia forever, right? It lasts for a while, but eventually you have to create nostalgia.
The show continues with other projects at Walt Disney World.
There's the transition.
Let's transition to something that I think we all can agree on, that we're all excited about, which is the new villains lair at Walt Disney World. So this is something that park goers have been clamoring for this for years, and it looks awesome, right? The concept art is the concept art. God only knows it may not look anything like this, but the level of detail and intricacy they've put into this concept art, if they do anything close to this, it's going to be a really cool area and something very different from anything we've ever seen at Walt Disney World before, which it needs to be, right? And I, for one, am like, I never thought this would actually happen. I really never truly thought this would happen. I thought Disney would be like, no, the villains, they come out at night every once in a while, and that's pretty much it. Right. But the fact that they took a chance and they took a risk and they said, hey, we got the monsters coming over at Epic. We've got clearly a place for people that want this. People want this, right? They listened to their park goers for the first time since COVID, maybe, right? They listened to us and they're doing it. And they said, without a shadow of a doubt, it is happening. They said it is happening. So I'm excited.
But do you feel at least a little bit cheated, though? Because, the rumor was that was going to be the 5th park, and now it's a land. And I think that Epic really forced their hand into finally doing this, because the reaction of the Monsters Gate at Epic Universe was so well received. And Disney's IPs are strong in the villain department, and people love the villains. But I feel a little cheated that, they should have thought about building that 5th park and making it entirely about villains. They have enough IP for it. They have amazing ideas that you could do with villains that you can not do with goody two-shoe characters. And I just think that it's great. I'm looking forward to it. And I think they're going to do some exciting stuff, but I feel a little cheated that it's not a 5th park.
I mean, we've talked about it on the show before about that possible 5th gate and being villains. I think, yes, there's a ton of options, ton of IPs that would make it fit perfectly well. The problem is, I think a little bit was a little limited with what you could do with it, kind of, because, again, you're going to draw some families away from that based on what villains is. So I think that was probably why Disney hesitated and built the land and not a gate, just because they wanted to ensure that they're getting the ticket price from families and not just have them, we're just going to skip this 5th gate because it could be too scary for our children, because it's just not for them. Now you're getting people to go in, and you're still getting that family to go in, but you just don't have to go to the land. You're still getting those people to enter with that. I mean, it's still, by all means, I mean, this is going to be a phenomenal land, but it's still going to draw those that had no interest in going because they might just stumble in, to be honest.
Okay, so look at the artwork. What's the roller coaster going to be themed to? Any guesses? Maybe our listeners, any guesses? Is it going to be Gronk pulling the leather?
That's
Is
what
it going to be?
That would be awesome.
Right? Is it going to be the tangled vines of Sleeping Beauty's castle? I see the dragon there breathing fire in the center left-hand side. So that could be part of the coaster there too, from Sleeping Beauty. It looks like it's kind of ragged and tangled. Or anything else? Any guesses on what that is?
Maybe a Cave of Wonders from Aladdin.
That's what I want.
That would be
Cave of Wonders on the carpet ride would be awesome in that area.
It's on Ryan's Christmas list wish.
I mean, I've been talking about it for years on this show that I want something Genie inspired, right? Like you could build that into this too. You could have Genie all over that, and he finally gets the credit that he deserves, right? In this area. Now, you're going to theme it really mostly after Jafar, right? Like Jafar is going to obviously be the main person that you're dealing with here. But I just love the idea that could be it. That would be
right through the tiger mouth into the cave. It's awesome.
Into a dark ride. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I agree that it looks like it looks like it may be something not for Jafar, I'm sorry, and not for the Genie, Ryan. It doesn't look that way in the graphics, so I know it's been on your Christmas wish list forever, but it doesn't look like that way for the artwork. Interestingly enough, there's, whatever that other thing is, I think everyone's expecting some sort of dark ride. But Bob, you bring up an interesting, really point. 5 for 10 years now, if there's a fifth gate, if this is gone, what's the fifth gate going to be, right?
Right.
That's really the interesting thing that we get to think about.
And then do we look towards the Asian parks for what that could be here? Because they're killing it with their expansions over there and the technology and everything that they're putting in there. This is their chance to kind of catch up.
Oh, no. I just had the thought that there could be a whole Frozen gate coming in. Yeah.
Well, they did the fantasy, the fairy tale land with Frozen and Peter Pan and, definitely not Dude's park area.
Yeah.
So there it is. We know where it's going. I love the fact that it's going to be around the back of what was the Rivers of America, bridging to the Haunted Mansion. That totally makes sense for the transition. You think about the transitions that go from the Caribbean Plaza into the American Southwest, that go from Liberty Square into Fantasyland. Those transitions from Main Street into Adventureland, those are so important and integral. And I think that this will work nicely there. And so let's go. The other thing that's really picking up wind right now is the whole Monsters Inc. land, right?
Not if oh no! If they're going to put it where they think they're going to put it, I'll be pissed.
Well,
let's hope it's not going
art. Yeah, the concept art is not really clear, right? The concept art shows that one area, this looks like this could be, with the exception of the fountain, this looks like this could be an animation courtyard.
Okay.
Right? That big open gray space there, the big building in the back, right? Yep. But then the other concept art, which I think we have that too, this looks like the Muppets area.
Well, the reason you can tell that is if you look behind Sully, there's a water tower, which is the water tower that's behind Rizzo's, right? Mm-hmm. And that brick building to the right is Muppets, right? So to the credit of California and the powers to be, right? They didn't announce the whole cars in the middle of Frontierland because they knew they'd be a backlash. And they didn't announce this as well, taking over, the Muppets. I mean, there's a lot of people partial to Jim Henson's grand final project that he had his fingerprints on. And, there's a lot of tie-ins to that. There was going to be so much of the Muppets there. That didn't happen. To put it there would be a big mistake, Bob. I agree with you.
I think it shows how much they wasted purchasing the Muppet IP. They've done nothing with it. They've done flashes of greatness with Beaker and Professor Bunsen in Epcot, or the Eagle in Liberty Square. But they're going to lose 2 restaurants if they change it. I'm sure they'll put some, but Mama Melrose's is out. Pizza Rizzo is out. I'm not so upset about that. Put another puff pastry, puffy pizza in there. But you're losing something that, people are like, oh, it's great air conditioning, but it's family entertainment. I mean, listen, I want the roller coaster that's coming, with Monsters Inc., but keep the Muppets for Pete's sakes. Get rid of Lightning McQueen on the other side of Rock and Roller Coaster and put it over there. I don't know.
There's room over there. That's a room behind the animation coordinator there. And then, Bob, what you got to do is move the goddamn Monsters Inc. lap floor out of Tomorrowland into that Monsters Land and make room to really do properly some expansion in Tomorrowland. But that's another story.
But to go back, it's that, like Ryan said, with the cars over in Frontierland, you get rid of that speedway and put something in there that's actually more modern and tomorrow and future. I mean, driving 1970s diesel cars and getting high on the fumes can only take you so far.
I think I'm in agreement with everybody here. I personally think I'm not a huge Muppets guy, and my only issue with the Muppets isn't I love the IP, right? But like my only issue with it is it's another area that's just, what are they doing with it? Pizza Rizzo sucks. Mama Melrose sucks. I'm sorry, but it sucks. It's not worthwhile. And the show is great. The 4D Muppet show is great, but it doesn't draw. It doesn't draw. It's always half empty.
Have you taken your kids there, Ryan?
What's that?
Have you taken your kids to the 4D Muppets?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, definitely.
Okay.
Every time we go. Have
you taken them to the Tiki Room yet?
No, I actually, truthfully, Carl, we were going to do that on our last trip, but my daughter got sick.
That's right. She did. Bless her heart.
We were going on Tom Sawyer Island, and they didn't give a crap about that. So,
what about Country Bears? Have you taken them to Country Bears?
No, because I didn't want them to get more sick.
Yeah, right.
No, it was actually
everybody. Ryan tries to be a dick and funny, but he borders over across being funny just to be purely a dick.
Yes, I do.
So if you want to know him, that's who he is. So,
I mean, I think everybody who's listened to the last 5 years knows that by now, Carl. I'm just throwing that out there. I own it. I love it.
Kids of all the things they could do age appropriate that are, if they're a little intimidated by, drops and water rides, a nice theater show and stuff, Singing Bears, harmless, but he deprives them of that and then tells everybody nobody goes there. Nobody goes there. It's too crowded.
Back to Muppets, right? So back to the Muppets. So I agree with what the majority of people are saying, and I'm a Star Wars guy, and I think the launch bay is a waste of space, right? The Disney Junior stuff is a waste of space. It's just a meet and greet, and that's really it. The dance party is no more busy than the Muppets Theater is, so get rid of that whole area. I think Kaylin said earlier, John highlighted it a minute ago, it makes more sense. You're closer to the Pixar stuff. You're closer to the Incredibles meet and greet area. You're closer to Toy Story Land. It flows better over there. The building space is there. You can do whatever you want with it. You can pop a restaurant in there or two. You can probably pop a show in there. You probably pop you got the Pixar animated theater there with the solely meet and greet already over there. You can do all of that stuff. But I have to say that between the two pieces of artwork, I don't think that's what they're going to do. I really do think they're going to replace the Muppets area. The brick, the water tower, even the one that looks kind of like Animation Courtyard has the fountain in the middle of it, which is also over at the Muppets area, right? So,
which they recently did all the rework on and possibly getting it ready for something else and putting that new they've been doing work over there that hadn't made any sense. And that gift shop back there with the giant Kermits on it's dead. There's nothing in there.
Use that use it like once a year for merchandise, and that's it.
Yeah. But the ride, let's talk about the ride, right? Let's talk about the ride. Thank God they're at least putting the ride in. I don't care what they do with it as long as that ride is there. That just like the villains area, we've been clamoring for this for a long time.
Yeah,
And
it's about time we get this. I mean, this rumor of not even a rumor, but this request from fans has been for a very, very long time. This is going to be awesome. Especially this one. I mean, we've got our first type of this type of roller coaster in a Disney park, which surprises me that's taken this long to get this style of a coaster. But this is going to make all the difference, especially with the doors. It's going to be awesome.
Yeah, much better than the Monsters Inc. ride in California.
My concern is that, with all these roller coasters, the number one dudette doesn't ride roller coasters. What the hell is she going to do at the park? She has no place to go and do
she's
anything.
going to go eat Ronto wraps.
Julie Ronto wraps and hang out with Edna Mode. They're about the same height. So
Okay, that's true. Look, is there anything else we've missed, or what else have we missed that they're opening up that we should talk about before we call it a night, gentlemen?
big thing, Disney Magic Kingdom is bringing back a nighttime parade for the first time in a very, very long time, and I think that's super important. And let's bring in something else that brings people and keeps them later in the Magic Kingdom. So I don't, I think they're going to copy what they've done in Tokyo, which is state of the art. But I'm excited for a nighttime parade in the Magic Kingdom.
I think it's great.
Think of the artwork, Bob.
That's why I'm saying I think it reminds me of what they've done in Tokyo Disney with it, and it's much,
The Blue Fairy is right out of Main Street Electrical Parade.
Yeah, and that's going to be the crowning piece of the whole thing. Though I will say I'd rather talk about what they're doing in Animal Kingdom and taking out Dinosaur and a whole land there and putting in Encanto and Indiana Jones. I think that's going to make that part the later part.
Oh God! Wait, you're excited about this, but the last time I was at Animal Kingdom with you, Carl, you almost were crying about Dinosaur, and it was probably your last time on it. So, which side are you?
I was crying because I was a dinosaur.
Well, no shit.
He was counting down his extinction, so it's okay.
I think we all knew this was coming, right? I think we all knew it was coming, and it's just nice that it's finally been announced and it's finally got the concept art out there, and everything looks like it's going to work out. Dinosaur to me was the most overrated piece of garbage in all of Walt Disney World. Sorry, I just don't care for it. It smells like burning rubber. It looks like trash. It's got old animatronics. The video, I feel like I'm watching Where in the World is Carmen Sandiego in 1994 when it's starting, right? Like it's time to go, right? The Dino Fun area or whatever Fossil Fun area or whatever they call that area, that can all go, right? You cannot talk about this without talking about Encanto, without talking about what they're going to do with the House Madrigal, which looked awesome.
Yep.
And it's a wildly popular IP, and with the concept that they're talking about, it's going to fit into Animal Kingdom, right? It's going to fit. It's going to make sense. The attraction, it'll be an e-ticket attraction that's going to make sense in Animal Kingdom.
Yep.
So I'm really, really looking forward to that.
So does anyone just to circle back on something, and I agree with everything you said, Ryan, but the Dinoland dig area was popular with a certain age kids. You're taking away that. You're taking away Tom Sawyer's Island. You took away a few other places like that. There's no place for kids to kind of run wild and free unless you take them back to the hotel. So I guess the idea is take them back to the hotel, the pool, let them, blow off physical steam there on the playgrounds and then come back to the park for dinner. But it just seems to be like those kinds of attractions have seen their day at Walt Disney World.
I disagree. You just opened a whole new area like that in Epcot. You just opened 3 new areas like that in Epcot. There's literally 3 areas they open in Epcot where kids can go run and blow off steam and play.
And you don't know what
pathetic. It's so pathetic what they did. Don't get me started. We already talked about that.
But you don't know what they're going to do in that area, and especially around Encanto. They're going to. I have faith in that.
They'd be dumb not to have incorporate some type of that. But
Yeah. Just I want to let that the dig area needed a bar. Well, Restaurantosaurus had a bar not too far away from that. It would have been interesting to put the dig there. I know where you're going on that theme park beer because you could just hang out, have a beer, and watch your kids kill themselves running all around. Which is great. That would have been perfect.
But this change is really going to allow them to stay open later too, because now you're going to have a really thought out themed area with multiple attractions, potential restaurants, and things like that. And you're not going to have to worry about the animals going to bed early and not seeing that, because then you're going to have the non-animal focused attraction. So you're going to be able to stay late in Pandora and see the luminescence, and then go on the other side of the park and see Encanto. And then you're going to have the new show that's replacing It's Tough to Be a Bug, based upon what's that?
Utopia.
Utopia. So I mean, I think they're giving a good breath of new life, that's things that are popular, to do that. Listen, the dig site, if you didn't have a kid with you and you even walked in there, people looked at you a little funny and you wanted to walk out. And then the whole area with the games was, yes.
People look at you funny a lot of times.
It's true. True.
You're a funny guy.
They mistake me for goofy all the time. So it's all good. But I mean, it really is going to make that Animal Kingdom area be more than go in at 7:30 in the morning and leave at 2 and not come back. So then you're going to Tiffin's for dinner. You're going to the Tiffin's Lounge for cocktails and late night, and just really embracing it and allowing it more.
Yes, we are. We are embracing those cocktails so much.
Yeah.
Look, the only thing that tropical Americas is missing, in my opinion, is another jungle trek like Africa and like Asia. You could bring in some South American animals, some jaguars, some of the exotic birds, some anacondas. You could bring in the South American classic animals to represent just like the other jungle treks did. And that would be fitting with the theme. I don't think they're going to do that. It's too expensive. It's not anywhere on the design. I think that was a miss, but other than that, I like it.
I like this comment from Dominic. D23 didn't announce Dude's next crawl for 2025. Don't worry, Dominic. That is coming. It's going to be a little bit different. Our time in Orlando next year is going to come at a different time than we're normally down there, so we're trying to figure that out. But it will come. We will do an annual crawl of some sort. So hang on to your boots, because we'll announce it just as soon as we can to get people down there. Keep following us on YouTube, like and subscribe to make sure that you're hearing it as it happens. Make sure you give us those likes so other people hear us, so we keep doing YouTube, because being on video is awesome otherwise. But
that's why we brought Bob on. We wanted to have someone good looking and for a change. So
yeah, well, I mean that's why we always bring Bob on. We need somebody who's actually intelligent, knows what they're talking about, and has the looks to attract the audience. But it's John's beard in his creepy basement otherwise.
I mean,
so right. I think we've covered it all, although it's a lot of topics to cover, and those of you know me, I am a confused old man, so I could wander anywhere with these topics, but I think we've covered them all.
There's one very important dude topic we didn't talk about, and that's a new lounge.
Drink up, me hearties, yo ho!
Oh yeah.
The Spaceship Earth Lounge looks kind of cool. It looks like it's going to be kind of basic and simple, but if there's a lounge, it's called Spaceship Earth Lounge, where I can drink, I will be there. I will absolutely be there. We'll have to test that out and then tell people about it, though, when it happens.
And we'll toast the Phoenicians.
Yeah, we won't be able to speak like the Phoenicians, but we'll toast them.
Well, hey, guys, thanks, Bob, for joining us. Thanks,
Absolutely.
dudes, for doing this. Tech Dude, hats off for you putting this together. It's amazing how quickly you put this together and how acclimated he was to the technology, and he pulled the neophytes all in to get it done. So we're always thankful for his talents on the show, even though we don't appreciate you, Figgy boy. We appreciate you. So
well, thank you. There's been a couple sleepless nights the past couple of nights before this, getting all our content and ducks in a row to make sure this worked properly. So I thank you guys. My wife, I'm not sure if she's listening or not. She would probably disagree with you guys and call you guys crazy for doing this to me, but I enjoy doing it. So I'm happy this is all very successful, and can't wait till we do the next one, hopefully very, very soon here. So
everybody hang in there. Please like and subscribe so we get noticed by more people, but also so that you know when we're going live, because this is not the last time. We've made an investment in this. We're going to be doing this more often. We're going to be recording our podcasts through this platform so that we can also edit them and release the non-live versions on YouTube as well. So please do hang out. Please tell your friends, family, everybody else. Huge shout out to all the MVPs and our friends that have been listening for a long time that have shared our content and gotten us. I mean, literally, we don't have that many subscribers, but I think we got them all in the last 48 hours because of all the people sharing them. So thank you for the support. And you guys are rock. You guys are all awesome. And we'll make sure to tell everybody about it. So thank you, thank you, thank you.
And with that in mind, and to all our listeners, we do thank you. And until next time, later, dudes.
Later, dudes.
later, dudes.
Later, dudes.
Thanks for joining us for this week's episode of Dudes Dish Disney. Please check us out on social media on Facebook.com/Dudes Dish Disney, on Instagram @Dudes Dish Disney, on Twitter @Disney_Dish. Please visit our sponsor, Magic Vacations, at magicvacations.net. More than just a travel agency, Magic Vacations has over 60 Magic Vacation planners committed to bringing you white glove concierge service. Using a Magic Vacation planner allows you to spend more time making memories and less time worrying about the details. For all of your Disney, Universal, cruise, and global travel, go to magicvacations.net. Magic Vacations. Discover the magic of travel.